Hey everyone, this is Robert from Melodics. Today I'm going to be showing you around the new Playground Mode, which is just launched in Melodics, and give you some ideas on how you might use it to become a better and more confident musician. This new environment is a really simple but powerful tool to expand your musicianship in ways that will take what you've learned in lessons and push it to the next level. Now, I'm really excited about this new feature because I know as a musician, learning scales and chords and melodies and songs, they're all pieces of the puzzle. But as a self-directed learner, it can be really difficult and nerve-wracking at times to know how to actually tie it all together and to get comfortable with using your ears and playing alone and to really start to feel like a musician. And this is why Playground Mode has huge potential for your own learning. It's a no-strings, free play environment where you can jam on Melodics tracks for as long as you want, however you want. That means it's suitable for everyone, so even a complete beginner can jump in there, but it also has infinite use for more advanced learners too. So I'm going to walk you through the process now and give you some pointers on how you might like to use it. So today we're going to look at the Good Friday lesson from the pentatonic scales course. If you haven't checked it out yet, it's a great one for getting your fingers around some shapes for improvising. Now, this is the third lesson in the course, and the kind of general outline of the lesson is that you learn how to take a D minor pentatonic scale and add an extra passing note to create the D minor blues scale, which is a classic starting point for jamming on a huge range of different music. So in order to access Playground Mode on a lesson, you actually have to pass it first. Now, I've already passed this lesson, so let's just skip to the last step and I'll try and give a really brief overview of what's going on here in terms of music theory. This is basically a melody just using these notes: D, F, G, G sharp or A flat, A, and C, which makes up the D minor blues scale. Now this particular melody also dips down to the C below the D, so here, but it's still the same note, and in theory we could extend this across the entire keyboard. So I'm just going to jump straight into the play screen here and play through a little bit of it before I skip through. So here we go. Okay, so you're probably starting to get a general idea of the style of the tune and the sound of the melody using that D minor blues scale. So I'm just going to hit a shortcut here which allows me to automatically pass the lesson. You can't do this, by the way. Okay, so now we're at the regular end of the lesson stat screen where you can evaluate your performance, but notice that there's a new playground button here. So here we go. Playground Mode. Like it says, no rules, no scoring, be creative. Before I hit play, let's just have a quick look at what's going on here. So at the top we have the song key. Now if that means nothing to you, there are some great courses and lessons in Melodics for learning about key, such as the Building Melodies course. But anyway, just briefly, the key of a song is the kind of tonal center of the song. So that means that the song has a feeling that it kind of wants to go home to a certain set of notes. And that doesn't mean they're the only notes we can use, which I'll demonstrate, but it gives you a pretty good general outline of what's going to sound good. So for this song, the key is F major, and the relevant scale to know is the F major scale. And these green dots on the keyboard here are all the notes that make up the F major scale. So those are F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E, and back to F. Same across the whole keyboard. Now, as you probably remember, we actually learned to play the melody for this song using a completely different scale, the D minor blues scale, which contains a note that you don't see here, the A flat or G sharp. So we can try experimenting with both and use our ears to see what actually sounds good. And in the top right here, we have a toggle where you can show the relevant chords for the key of F major and the root position shapes for them. It doesn't tell you when each chord will fit with the rest of the music, but it gives you some shapes to start experimenting with. Again, you don't actually need to know what any of this means to jump in and start using Playground Mode, but for those of you who are trying to train your ears and figure out chords to songs, this will be a really useful guide. Okay, so let's go. I hit play and the song plays just like before, but this time Melodics isn't going to tell me what to do at all. I can do whatever I want. So maybe just to get started with, I'll try and play the melody from memory, see how I go. maybe I just want to try hammering random keys. I could try to figure out how to play the chords. I could try and invent a bass line that fits with the sound of the song. Anyway, whatever. So this might seem kind of daunting at first because the big question is, what should I actually do? Well, here's a suggestion for a good starting point anyway. So try firstly play the melody from memory and see how you go. Cool, okay, try moving it up an octave now, see how that sounds. Maybe you want to try adding in a few variations to the rhythm, or adding in extra passing notes to give it your own flair. Or, alternatively, you could just try playing freely with the notes of the F major scale. So that's those green dots displayed on the keyboard above. Or try doing the same thing with the D minor blues scale. Yeah, so not the most inspiring improvisation, but hey. Okay, so now I'm going to show you my favorite feature of the Playground Mode. You can actually record what you play and listen back to it. This is a big deal as a musician because often your only feeling for how your playing sounds is how it feels in the moment, and it can be really hard to evaluate how it would sound to you if you were just listening. This can be a bit of a cringy experience, kind of like hearing a recording of your own voice for the first time, but it's a super powerful tool for self-evaluation, and I know heaps of great musicians who are constantly recording and assessing their performances. Okay, so I'm just going to hit record here, and then I'm just going to try and sort of improvise my way around the melody from the lesson. So let's stop there, and we hit the play button above, and then we can have a bit of a listen to how it actually sounded. Okay, so maybe I'm noticing that maybe I hit some notes later than I felt like I did at the time. Okay, cool. So now I'm just going to try that again, but this time just free playing on the F major scale. So all of those green dots on the keyboard above. Okay, and then hit play again, and we can have a bit of a listen. And now listening back, I actually really noticed the difference in the sound between that F major scale and the D minor blues scale. And if I play something I don't like, I can just hit this X here and start again. So far everything is sounding pretty good, but just a reminder that it really doesn't matter if it's good or not at all. You never know what you're going to discover from experimenting, so even just mashing keys does no harm. You can play around here as much and as long as you want, and nobody is listening or evaluating you, except you, and to me that's really the beauty of it. You don't have anything to be afraid of, you can just keep playing. You can treat it like a practice room, but ultimately it's a playground. Maybe you want to try and figure out a bass line or chords to a song. You can just keep playing along until you start to find the right notes. You can actually record your way through the whole song and it will loop back to the start and you can add more on top. Or maybe you're producing your own music. Maybe you've already got a beat or something figured out and you just want to get some inspiration for chords or melodies. You could pick a lesson that you really like the sound of and use it to draft ideas on. You could turn the backing track off altogether and just play along with the metronome with an instrument sound that you really like. Those are just a few ideas that occur to me, but it could be anything. I'm excited to hear from users about all the different ways they choose to use Playground Mode. Whatever you do, you can use Playground Mode to explore and become the musician that you want to be. There are so many different aspects of music that only really start to come together when you experiment and explore. Well, that's all from me today, so open up Melodics and get started.